Chapter 16, The New Scriptures as written by Sananda, Jesus. Posted on September 12, 2013 at 9:35 a.m. You are all working hard to absorb this new information. I appreciate how different it is from what you were taught about me and my life here with you 2,000 years ago. Many of you have subliminal memories of that time with me and knew the teachings were not accurate. But it is difficult to know you are right when everyone around you seems to know something different. Take heart, beloved ones. You are following your hearts, and that is what really matters. Take all the information we are giving you, immerse yourselves in it, and you will find you can lift your vibration a little each day, and it will become a familiar state to be swept up in feelings of joy, generosity, and goodwill for those around you. This is the essence of love, the actions of love and light. You were born to feel this, to experience this glorious uplifting of spirits. It is the reason you all wanted so badly to be here for this unique time. There are still those among you who have believed that ascension means an escape from the sensations and trials of life on earth. This is not the case. Your experience on earth at this time has been a gift to you, an opportunity to take hold, to accept the deeply felt sensations, and to revel in the possession of a body, that unique three-dimensional experience. You are now on your last round of incarnations. You will not be back here again for the learning experience of being born, growing, and living a regular earth life, which ends with the death of the body. Acknowledge this life as the precious gift it is. You are allowed to take part in this incarnation on earth because of your strong desire to be here for the ascension and because of your prior preparation for this task. All of you have lived many lives, taking the path of learning by experience and by overcoming difficult obstacles. Now it is time to consolidate that learning, absorbing the true meaning of these lives you have completed, and accept your place among those who will ascend to a higher dimension with the body intact without having to experience death as you have known it. Do not accept your ego's complaints and misdirected feelings of impatience, unhappiness with your present state, and dark judgments about the state of the world as you see it is. It is not what it appears, I assure you. Yes, there is suffering in the world, but from the perspective of a soul, this is not the main concern. The soul's deep sense of knowing and the responsibility of the higher self is to absorb the lessons offered by that suffering, not to relieve the suffering itself. It would not matter to the higher self if you have died of starvation or are on a satin bed. The important thing would be how you approach that death experience and what you learned from it. As sensitive human beings, it is difficult for you to see the suffering. You want to change it, alleviate it, put a stop to the abuses which has caused it. This is one of the wondrous things about your human makeup. An infant in a nursery will cry if it hears another child crying because its young heart is stirred to sympathetic tears, just as we are touched by another's pain as adults. But this intense response, which leads you to anger and resentment, must now be mitigated by the understanding that each soul here now on the earth came here to experience these difficulties and challenges in an effort to expand their compassion and their strength. With that knowledge as your backdrop, perhaps you can now come to understand more fully that there are truly no victims here on earth. Although no one likes to be abused, starved, or beaten, you have each agreed to some or all of these elements in order to fully reach the potential of your mental, physical, and spiritual strength. To someone unfamiliar with this, it seems unbelievable that anyone would choose to live the most difficult kind of life. But those, dear ones, are the most ambitious and determined among you. You have known for some time that the opportunity to experience life here on earth in the third dimension would be limited by the coming ascension, and so you were eager to make the most of this last chance to be tested in this way. Now, here you are, most of you finishing your last life here. It is truly a time of bittersweet feelings, the end of an era. You might even look back with some nostalgia on times of struggle, because they were also times of forging intense and lasting relationships, and times of learning to reach deeply into your soul to find happiness in the smallest delights of life. You have grown here, beloved ones. It was our original design to provide this testing ground for ourselves in our climb up the ladder to higher dimensions. The dark nights of the soul, which you experienced as a result of reptilian influences, were also your finest moments. You have each risen to the challenge to rescue a comrade in mortal danger, or soothe a broken heart of one you loved, or feed a stranger in need of sustenance. You have given without question, acted heroically without prompting, and found your own strength in the process. And now it is time for you to experience a different kind of challenge. You have become so acclimated to the life in the trenches that it is difficult for you to even imagine a world without war, without powerful criminals imposing their dark ways on the entire society. I assure you, the cabal is being unraveled, dismantled, and given the same ultimatum you saw being given to their reptilian leaders before August 22nd, 2013. All will be forgiven. All will be given the choice to return to the light or to be dissolved back into the all that is, souls no more. Some will require sojourn in prison before they are willing to believe their choices are truly limited to light. Like you, the dark ones have become accustomed to the never-ending power struggle, and they are used to winning because they are willing to use any vicious and immoral strategies that they thought would gain power over God's light workers. This is no longer an option, as you would say. There are courageous activists at every level investigating the crimes against humanity which caused suffering on the planet, and they have made enormous inroads into the power structure of the cabal. The remaining minions, those who aspire to be lords of the dark in spite of their human DNA, which does allow a connection to the hearts, are beginning to awaken to the end game, and there is nowhere for them to go but up. You have been told that you will all ascend together. This is true in relative terms. There will be those who are ready to go with very little preparation. Others will need a bit of training and help to raise their vibrations. Never fear, dear ones. There will be many light workers among you who have spent many lifetimes perfecting the skills needed to help their fellow beings learn the necessary skills to make their ascension. Those skills of which I speak have been described in Prime Creator's 10 Commandments in my chapter 11. Yes, we understand it is a skill to be in absolute command of your own thoughts, feelings, and actions, but it is a skill that can be learned. You have it in your human beingness to live a life of honor, love, and light. Those teachings which held you back from experiencing your integrity fully and those that suppressed your joy can be learned, can be unlearned. Now is the time for you to work in earnest or any leftover inclinations toward anger, resentment, discontent, and all ideas which led to judgment of others. Search out any tendency in yourself to sink into negative pronouncements and attitudes of jaded disbelief in the human capacity to rise above the past. Examine your motives whenever you decide to tell a story about violence or criminal behavior. Find it in your heart to discard the dog-eat-dog attitudes you were taught by your reptilian invaders. Those days are truly over. Even dogs are becoming more peaceful and friendly. There are some who have already begun to shift to a vegetarian diet where they are allowed to do so. All beings on the planet are experiencing a shift to crystalline-based DNA. This means for all a new ability to sustain yourselves with a much lighter, less protein-based diet. This is the most fundamental shift, which will make the idea of anyone eating their friends, the animals, a thing of the past. It was foretold in your Bible that there will be a time when the lion will lie down with the lamb. That time is coming, my beloved ones. You are already seeing hundreds of videos on your internet of cross-species friendships, which you have thought to be unbelievable. It will soon become so commonplace as to elicit nothing more than an amused chuckle. From now on, we will need to shift our consciousness to identify all others around us as an extension of ourselves. This is the meaning of being one with all others. What they feel, we feel. What they need, we need. The animal kingdom has always been the bellwether system which tells us the state of health of the planet and the state of emotions of the humans around them. When humans no longer eat animals, animals will stop eating each other. You see, their behavior is a reflection of the human emotions on the planet. As your vibrations rise from the third dimension up to the higher fifth dimension, the higher vibrations will rise all consciousness with it. Since all conscious beings also have the ability to think, reason, and make choices, it may not be a simple one-to-one shift immediately. All conscious beings also have feelings, are conditioned to some extent by the events of their earlier lives, and therefore must unlearn their responses to the environment, especially the fear response, which all have absorbed. Imagine a life in which there is no fear, beloved ones. Imagine being able to walk freely through the streets and through the forest without a thought about protecting yourself from harm. What a glorious time it will be when all humankind truly understands the meaning of oneness and can behave accordingly. Of course, someone has to start in order to create the change, don't they? All beings will learn a new sense of cooperation and cohabitation by experiencing the shift in others. Will you be one of those others who sets the trend? Will you break the mold of old suspicions, old fears, and throw your heart open to find out what is possible when you transmit great waves of love and acceptance rather than fear and paranoia? The air you are breathing is becoming sweet and clean, sustaining your health in a new way, thanks to the efforts of your galactic brothers and sisters. The healing they have accomplished with Mother Earth would have taken hundreds of years to complete on their own. Toxic chemicals, radiation, pollution of all kinds have been returned to their harmless carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen-based states. There will be no more poisoning of your crops, no more genetically modified Franken foods, as you have so appropriately labeled them. Already the companies that have penetrated the worst poisoning of the food supply are beginning to feel the pinch of decreased profits as more people awaken to the disastrous and cruel methods of husbandry and farming, which were developed under the reptilian profit above all business model. The coming times are going to be exciting, challenging for many, and unexpectedly joyful for all. You are beginning to feel the excitement in the air, and your spirits are rising to look forward to each new day. Soon this attitude of anticipation will become the norm for you, for every day will bring new delights, new knowledge, and a brand new feeling of peace and fulfillment to all of you. We understand that you are just beginning to trust in our words, for the slow evolution of your new life was not what you expected. Because of the religious teachings, which painted God as the one who wielded great power over all his domain, and who could and would strike down anyone who displeased him, it has taken quite a lot of reassurance to convince you that this is not the way God actually behaves. Now that you have begun to grasp through the hundreds of messages from Mother and Father God in recent years that it is not God's way to control and punish, you can begin to understand why there will not be forced change for the better either. As much of you continue to urge rapid change, special dispensation for the poor, immediate punishment for the criminal banksters, and so forth, you are beginning to understand that this is not the true way. You came here to be tested, even if that meant hardship. That is not changed. What has changed is the agreement that those hardships will now be lifted so that everyone can now experience a new life. This is not being done to alleviate the suffering. It is being done because this was our agreement, that when consciousness level of the planet rises sufficiently to warrant a complete shift, all past contracts and all the traditional ways in which you learned your life lessons would be changed. People have always fallen sick, suffered and died, lost their way, and felt alone and bereft. That was the way lessons were learned here on planet Earth. In the planning of your life contracts before you came here, there were no complaints about how hard life would be or how stressful it would feel to work long hours. You are eager to rise to the challenge and take on whatever obstacles might be thrown in your path. You are indeed an intrepid race of adventurers. It is only after you arrive here behind the veil that the suffering here becomes a fretful preoccupation. This is part of the plan, dear ones. The empathy you feel for others in need is what helps you to grow. What you do about those feelings will shape how far you move in your ascension toward complete love and light. Rather than curse the dark, as they say, remember to light your candle and to move into the places of darkness where others are in despair and cast a great beacon of love light for others to see. This is the meaning of being a light worker. It is a delicate balance between wanting to improve condition for others while also respecting the fact that they are here to learn their own lessons. The answer is to only offer that help which allows others to help themselves. In this way, you encourage independence and competence, the backbone of self-respect. We have taught that the ability to love yourself is the first step in learning to love others. It allows you to experience how important it is to feel respected, to accept never-ending love, and to thrive in the great nurturing light, which is divine love. You are learning that you are divine, that each one of you is divine, and that you all carry the spark of divinity, which is God. Remember to repeat the mantra, which will strengthen and nourish you. I am in command of my life. I am strong. I am sure. I am good. I am alive. I am competent. I am light. I am God. Add whatever characteristic you feel is most important for you to recognize now. Enjoy your days, dear sisters and brothers. Enjoy the experience of being in this body, in this time and place, for it will never be the same again. Join with me to rejoice in the changes which are already happening on the surface of your dear Mother Earth. You are surrounded by angels, guides, and friends. We will soon be visible to you, and you will recognize us because you have been developing a relationship with us all along. I love you beyond words, dear human ones. Your brother, Sananda. Transcribed by Catherine E. May, September 12th, 1 a.m. EDT.